What's up, y'all? This is Rom coming back at you with yet another car video. I use my left hand because I put my glove on my right hand. Anyway, yeah, there are major reasons why educated women have trouble meeting a good man. And I was inspired. Y'all know I don't usually go on women, but I will call out some stuff. And pass this to any female friends you have. Because, one, educated women, they lose out on, well, before I even get into that, what do they always say they're looking for? Because this would inspire me. A very well-known woman, I guess you would call her a female dating coach. Very well-known. I ain't going to call her name. I ain't going to give her any play like that. Nothing against her, though, but she's defended me in the past, so I give her a pass. But a major reason many of these women lose out is they don't take time to find out if someone is educated. They don't take time to get a man. You know, in general, they don't take time to find out about the man. That's one major reason right there. Because they always quote statistics and shit, but, you know, that's relative. It depends on where they at. If you're in certain regions, there's going to be plenty of educated men. If you're not in certain regions, there might not be. So that's all relative right there. But see, a lot of women get caught up into it. See, there's not enough. And they'll quote all the statistics and stuff. But still, it's really on them who they're going to mess with. Because yet another reason why they have trouble, they're looking for them to look a certain way. There's plenty of educated men. In fact, I remember this one woman who she was in medical school, and she's doing something medical now. I haven't talked to her in decades, but I was interested, and I asked her straight up. I said, "Okay, how many men do you know who got degrees? Do you know?" She said 5. How many you interested in? 2. I was like, what's the problem? What's the problem? You know, so that's yet another reason. They'll meet the men, but they ain't attracted to them. So they ain't taking time out to get to know the man or get to know the men. Like, I thought about that when I was watching that balloon pop show, and they had that attorney on there, but he wasn't dressed like an attorney. Had a hat on, some shoes. He just looked like a regular dude. And yeah, he could have wore a suit up in there. Some women would say a suit, but I was like, well, hold up. You seeing more of the guy. You know, you get a lot of these women, they got that degree, and they act like it gives them a place they act like it makes them more intelligent. Or they can look down on a guy. Well, you don't have a degree. All that means is you had the money and the time to get it, but it don't really mean you're very intelligent. It don't mean you're more intelligent than somebody. It means you're good in a specific area, maybe. But did you get that degree? Did you had a 4.0 to get that degree? You know, it's a lot of stuff with it. A lot of women use that as an something artificial, even a class thing. Now, I've talked about the class thing, and yes, in effect, but let's just be real. People might have to go outside their class to find a mate. But let me just talk specifically about educated women. So, one, they're not taking time to get to know the guys, because there's actually plenty of guys out there who have degrees. They're educated. You know, but can you tell? Like, if somebody just see me just driving along, or they see me out and about, I might be wearing sweats, ordinary clothing. You can't tell I got 2 degrees. I got it, shit. We can put money on it. I can tell you where to look. But then you look, now what? And there's plenty of men like that. You don't know what their education is or anything like that. And then even if they don't have a degree, don't mean they're not intelligent. Anybody can pick up a book. And I'll say this, that a lot of so-called educated women got degrees, but they can't talk about anything outside of their subjects. If you ask them what they've actually read, they haven't read much. Most of them haven't read much. You know? So it's like I said, it's artificial. Because, it depends on where you went to school. Now, if you went to an Ivy League school and you had a 4.0, okay, maybe I give you some, like a top school and you had a 4.0, but let's be real, most schools ain't top. Most schools are not top schools. Like, I remember when I was working retail, and there was this young lady, she was going to some school, and she had the nerve talking about, well, I went to this school and had the nerve to have her nose up while telling me about some school I hadn't heard of, probably ain't in like the U.S. reports or ranked school. But she had her nose up in there. I just laughed. I just said, honey, you don't know my background. But, you get stuff like that. And it's really hurting the women. It ain't hurting the guys. Because all women aren't like that. I'm talking about specifically college-educated women. They let that shit go to their heads. And that's what's really hurting them. They're not taking time to get to know the guy, not finding out what they read, what books they read, or anything like that. Because there's a whole lot of them. And then it don't mean they're going to necessarily be a good guy. You got some guys who, I think it's some of the biggest players I've known have been attorneys and doctors. So they don't automatically make them good, but it's artificial. These women ain't seeing, well, who's the guy who is, first of all, going to be compatible. 2, she gonna find attractive anyway. They really mixed up. They really in kind of the same category. And I be thinking about that. They gotta find them attractive, but see, they'll use the excuse, why they're single and everything. They'll use the excuse of, well, there's not enough men, they ain't this or that. No, you're not attracted to them. You're not taking time to get to know them. Because let's use that main thing. Okay, say the guy don't have a degree. Well, you got some billionaires who don't have degrees. Bill Gates actually dropped out of school. Can you mess with his money? Because you don't know the situation. See, the main thing I would tell the women, and I've told this to educated women, I say, why don't you get to know the guy? Find out first. And then don't try to you can't make a decision right away. It's like on that balloon pop show when that attorney was on there. They couldn't tell just by, all of them were popping their balloons, but, he was an attorney. And here's something else too. What happens when he turns his stuff against them? Because one thing, you get guys like that who really do got their education and stuff. Shit, they picky as fuck. So what happens? How will these women feel when that guy turns it against them? It's an interesting dynamic. It's a really interesting dynamic. Because just talking about the men turning it against them. You get men who got that money and everything. In fact, I remember there was some guy who called himself a prize and women got pissed. And this dude was an attorney. This dude had just passed the bar. Or he had just graduated law school, I think. Haven't heard about whether he passed the bar or not. But he was calling himself a prize. Women getting pissed off. But I'm like, hold up. But then you get some other women say there's a shortage of guys like that. Apparently it's a prize. Make up your mind. Make up your mind. What is it? And it's an interesting dynamic because it's very specific. It ain't all women, of course, because you get some women who are 9-to-5ers, don't have the degrees themselves, what BGS would call 87 octanes. And I remember Cousin T-Tar did a webinar for my private group. He said, hey, they're some of the most receptive. Because they ain't tripping over that shit, They ain't tripping. They got a different mindset. But then you get the ones who got that degree and everything, and I'm just looking at them. And I'm like, damn. And yeah, I can talk shit about it because I got my degrees. I got my degrees. And I be talking with other dudes who got degrees. If they don't look a certain, I mean, because one, they have the degrees, but then they're saying, well, the women ain't doing this or that. Because then you find out the women checking out the guy's looks. You know, they might be good guys, but they ain't fine. You know, good guys have money, credit, all that stuff women say they want, but they ain't fine. Shoot, that's really a bigger issue. Like, I don't jump on the black pill dudes that badly, because they have some good points. It really is an interesting dynamic. The women complaining, but then when you point out some shit, they don't got nothing to say. It's like that one young lady. I said, well, hold up. How many guys you know got education and all of that? They right there. But then they start coming up with some other shit. You know, well, he won't like this. He won't like that. Right? I was like, well, how you know? Did you take time to get to know him? You making assumptions based on some outside shit. But I'm going to tell you what it really is, though. It's really just them. It's on them. They got some issues. They ain't looking within. They ain't looking at themselves. And then try to use that as an excuse. That's really what the issue is. They'll try to say, well, there ain't enough educated men. Are you where they going to be? Are you headed to the places like the upscale gyms or bistros or events that they'll probably be at? Like, one of the things I follow a lot of like more upper class educated pages on IG. Like tech people and people like that, private clubs. They there. You know? I remember I did a book signing one time at Zanzibar when it was on the waterfront. Some people might remember that, when it was on the waterfront, right? And I was in the skybox section. Not skybox, but exclusive section, right? And I was like, dang, there's nothing but a bunch of dudes up here. Where the women at? It's like one woman who was a member up there. And I was thinking about that, because you get some women saying, well, they're around there. It's like, hold up, are you going to where they at? You know? But like I said, a lot of times that's just something within them. Because if they really wanted an educated man, well, one, they had to find out. Because unless they Greek letter the dude who's wearing his paraphernalia around, which most of them aren't unless they go into a specific event, you ain't gonna know if they graduated school or got a degree. I use myself for an example. If I ain't tell you I had a degree, and I guarantee that somebody probably still doubt it. But I would say this, if you want to find out, hey, there gotta be some money involved. Like, lots of money. And I'll tell you where to, like, verify the shit. Then what? Because there's a lot of guys making money and shit. But you ain't sure what they do. Or got a degree. And then you get a lot of guys who just self-educated. Because, like I said earlier, just because a woman... And I actually said this in a book I wrote for women. Finding the right man. I wrote it too. I said it to him. I said, having an education just means you can memorize. You're able to memorize and give back what the instructor gave you. You don't necessarily denote intelligence. Because let's be real, and this is somebody with a degree. Most of the classes are not going to ask you to think. Now, I had some because of a liberal, St. Joseph's liberal arts. So we had to take philosophy. We had to take like sociology, politics. We had to take a variety. So it's different there, but most schools aren't like that. Most schools, you just take what you want to take. You know? Shit, let's just be 100 with that. You don't require that you get any books other than the books for class. And let's be real, most people are going to sell those books back as soon as they finish the class. They're going to try to get some money off of them. But you got some guys out here, they are legitimate intellectuals. They self-taught. You know, they got books and stuff, but you say, well, what school you went to? They didn't. They could, but they didn't. And they can get down with some intellectuals, because you got some spaces where you got men, even online, you got some intellectual guys who, you know, they can read, they can tell stuff, and they can get down with anybody from college. I've seen it happen. I've known them. I knew this one guy. In fact, I mentioned him before. I called him Rhino, Dark Jedi, but that dude was intelligent. I remember we went, I think it was a NBA thing. I went as his, I was hanging out with him, and he was working the room. And, you know, his brother had all these white guys. They were just, he had them in thought. Yet he didn't have a degree. He was largely self-taught. And he can get down with anybody intellectually. And you got some guys like that. So, you know, even if they, you know, you get some women try to use that, try to say, well, he ain't smart. Did you talk to him? Did you find out? You're making an assumption. You know? It's like, don't make an assumption. You got to get to know that guy. And then be realistic. It was like, you know, because a lot of educated dudes might not be that fine dude. You know, might be just some dudes going to work. In fact, when you really look at, and this is regardless of race, background, you look at the guy, the men really running shit in this country. Really running shit in the world, because despite all the talk about a gynocracy and all of that, men still run shit. These dudes don't look like all that. These dudes don't look like no Chad and Tyrone and shit. That's a very important consideration. These dudes be like, you know, regular. So some educated women, you know, they gotta really look at it. You know, don't let that degree go to their head. You know, because the guy that they click with, you know what, he might be educated, but a woman's overlooking him for whatever reason, or not taking time to get to know him, or, you know, he could be blue collar, or it could be he might not look like that fashion model. And, you know, the thing is, the women complaining about it, I'm like, I mean, they can complain, you can say whatever. Shit ain't gonna change for them until they open up their horizons. Until they open it up and really just look at themselves, ask themselves, why you using that artificial thing? Because even if somebody, I'm gonna tell you what, I remember, because I went to school at the graduate level at American, I knew 2 dudes there, 2 men. Really, 3. Well, he had a degree already. Nah, no he didn't. No, he didn't. He had spent some time in school. I don't think he had a degree. But you had some guys there, a couple, maybe 3. I'll go with the 2 I know for sure. One was working as an administrative assistant. The other one was working in the mail office. He was a mailman. He was delivering mail to different places on the campus. But both were highly intelligent, because since they worked at the school, they were able to they were able to take classes. And they were both of them were on a high track. One finished school and he decided to go to another track. Shit. I remember another guy. Now, this was when I was doing, did like this relationship conference, and this was seriously academic. This was academic. Yeah, incidentally, my book, Nice Guys and Players, was part of reading at a couple colleges. Anyway, right? So, I remember the dude the main PhD on the panel, because he was drilling me. I basically had to defend everything I said in the book. They were giving me a PhD level. I had to do a PhD level defense of what I was talking about with a group of PhDs. The main one leading them had actually spent a lot of time in prison. He spent like serious time in prison. In fact, you got some dudes in prison getting degrees. I know some guys will say, yeah, I know women gonna go for them, those Pookies and Ray Rays that got degrees out of prison. Maybe so, but my point is, somebody can get a degree anytime. When I knew this dude in recent years and stuff. Met him while working retail. This dude was going for his PhD. You know? People gotta stop tripping. Women especially, in particular, gotta stop tripping. Just find out if the guy's compatible with you. You can always go get a degree. Yeah, even myself, I already got 2, but I've said several times, sometimes I think about getting a PhD in sociology and studying subcultures. I actually think about that. So, I mean, but for the educated women, they gotta stop tripping. They're gonna have to open up their horizons. The men are there. They might have to move. They might have to find out where they're gonna be at. They might have to join those private clubs you're gonna get. If you want the educated man who making money that badly, you might have to join that private club or something like that. But they there. But mainly, they gotta look within themselves. Are they getting to know the men? Or are they meeting a man making an assumption based on what he dressed like or something? Or making a decision just because you don't like his shoes? No, he's educated, shit. He probably got several pairs of shoes. Yeah, he might be like me. I got some shoes on. Shit, I might wear them like once a year and shit. I got a whole bunch of shoes. Speaking of which, I need to go and get rid of some. But that's the whole thing. You know? So, anyway, though, that's all I got for now, y'all. But it's something to think about because, yeah, I know I be carring mostly on the men, but I haven't, just sitting back chilling right now, Mostly, my main focus is getting men to, level themselves up. But, the women, I wanted to hit that because you get a lot of women. They trying to put down some men. You got some men out there got what they want. They just got to take their time. One, they got to ask themselves, how come they overlooking this one guy? That's within them. Plenty of guys who got the degrees and everything. Shoot. And even though I argue with them about it, they feel like all the women going for some, some Pookies and Ray Rays and bum dudes. I argue with them about it, but here's the thing. A lot of women, guys are there, they got to get their own act together. They got to look within themselves, because they passing over a lot of good guys. Something to think about, and y'all pass this around. And like I said, I haven't really, I've been to St. Joseph's and American, and if somebody want to put some money up, shoot, I can like validate it. Hell, you can validate it if you know my full name. So anyway, though, that's all I got for now, y'all. I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.